Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Ji Xian, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this special webcast organized by Opus by Prudential in partnership with Portfolio. Tonight's program is about crafting resilient legacies, and we have the honor of inviting a panel of business leaders and industry experts to share about the impact of COVID-19 on their businesses and how they have overcome this pandemic to carry on their legacies.
Ismail Ghaffur is our guest tonight. He is the Executive Chairman, CEO and founder of PropNext Realty. Ismail believes that values, trust, respect and empowerment are integral to crafting a legacy. Ismail, easy question, right? How did you get to where you are today? How did you get started?
There was one definite, certain, impactful event, and I would say that was when I was doing my basic military training. I always used to take the bus together with my buddy, and we passed this Cavan Road, and that's when he told me his uncle just sold a property at that particular development and made a $250,000 profit. To me, it sounded like insane. How can people sell a property and earn a $250,000 as an 18-year-old boy? Because we used to deliver newspaper. My father was a news vendor, and I used to wake up at 4 a.m., including all my 5 brothers. And for every newspaper delivered, we get 4 cents. And I was trying to say, how many 4 cents will make a $250,000 was something that I wasn't able to mathematically quickly come up with the number. But I knew if the uncle sold 1 property and made $250,000, if I own 4 properties, I would be a millionaire.
I think one of the common questions I often get is this now the right time to enter into the market, right? Whether it's the stock market or property in this case. I would say, I think first of all, we all know markets move in cycles, right? And we're probably at this stage whereby asset valuation is slightly a little bit on the high side. But again, you have to look at things in relative perspective, right? Everything is high now. The fixed income markets are high, the equity markets are high. Property prices, if you compare to 5-10 years ago, it is heightened as well because of the low interest rate environment, as what Ismail has said. So I would just say my take on this is it really depends on where you are today, right? Assess yourself from a portfolio perspective. What is your liquidity position, right? Are you overly geared, right? And in terms of your legacy planning, right? How does property feature as a part for you to pass on to your future generation versus maybe other type of asset classes? Do you have that liquidity to provide the income and the needs of your successful generations? Right. That will be where I tackle and look at it.
The current COVID situation do allow people to pause and at the same time to take stock. Should we reorganize our existing portfolio? And it is not only confined to property as what David has highlighted, almost looking at every aspect of it, because not every one of us at certain age want to push ourselves and gear hugely. Yeah. But leveraging is definitely a plus point. But changing a property from a public housing to a private or from a condominium to a landed is one step positive that help us over the next 5, 10, 15 years as we retire is something that we have created as a legacy.
Yes. First, define the investment objective. What are you trying to achieve, right? Yes. And then secondly, I think it's also try to take the emotions out of it, because a lot of times whereby we get very affected, right, by what we read about US elections, what's happening in the tech sector, and you just feel that kind of FOMO, I better not lose out, right? Let me do something about it. So I think that managing the emotions, staying disciplined, having a very thorough approach to reading your investment strategy, all this becomes very important, right? I would just add maybe one important aspect that I also find very important when we assess across different asset classes. It's not just about diversifying, right? You hear everybody talk about, okay, let's diversify. Diversifying is not just about buying 20 stocks, right? It's not just about buying 20 properties. It's also about how do you make sure that the correlation across your investment portfolio, there is that low correlation.
How does insurance feature as an important part of one's wealth planning and investment portfolio?
The way I think about insurance, and I've heard this quite a few times before, is what kind of asset classes give you the lowest correlation to your investment portfolio today, right? In today's climate, it's very hard to find. And that's where I think insurance policy can become a part of it, right? Because regardless of whether markets go up or go down, your insurance policy is going to be there, right? You are going to get your payout based on certain events that happen, right? So that's why I think a lot of times people ignore the important bit that insurance play as part of the overall asset planning and also in terms of the legacy planning.
For myself, even though I have multiple properties, but the insurance aspect is hugely important, because what is one thing here is one of the disadvantage, if I may say, about property here is this: it's illiquid when you need it immediately, but it takes some time, and sometimes the market cycle may not be in your favor. But an insurance is there to bridge that gap so that the loved one do not lose what they have been enjoying and they can continue life. So it's a complement of both. Yep, either in the form of a mortgage insurance for the property or other form of insurance that will give you that equity or the cash perspective. Yep.
How do you pass on one's wealth in one's investment portfolio, including the property, obviously?
It's most important, I think, each and every one of us have to prepare will, and that's equally very important, because we do not want in any unforeseen situation people start guessing. I suppose this has been discussed in some of the earlier segments and so on.
I think in terms of drafting your legacy planning, whether it's in terms of will, in terms of trust, right, in terms of designing it such that you give the money and pass the money on to your next generation in the appropriate time as you deem fit. Right, these I think are all very important aspects when one looks at it from the holistic perspective. Always look at the risk first. That's always my approach. What is the biggest downside risk that you can expect? And then after that, look at the returns. Many times people look at it the other way around, right? 10%, 20%. And then the risk become an afterthought. So this will be my parting thought that we share.